Welcome. This short video is meant to answer the question, where can I find images to use in my Pecha presentation? If you're like most students, you've probably always gone to one source when trying to find images to use in a presentation or a report. Right here at Google Images, here's our URL, images.google.com. This can be a very good tool as an option for what we're going to do for our presentations, but I also want to highlight some things that, well, for the most part, we don't usually consider when completing school assignments. And it's the question of, do we have the rights to use the images? Are we infringing on someone else's rights in using those images? So when you do a search for things that you're interested in including, you probably simply type them right in here. And, well, if you type in Mickey, of course, the top list will be mouse. If we just do a search, well, you're going to get images that look an awful lot like this, like the trademark character that we all know and recognize. However, if you were to limit this to images that you're allowed to use, especially if you said you wanted to use the image for commercial purposes, well, the images that will come up tend to look more like this. This isn't official Disney merchandise, and there's a reason for that. The Disney Corporation polices the copyright of Mickey Mouse very, very closely, and anything that even begins to impinge on their copyright, they tend to sue. And so for that reason, they might be really the best example of a source that looks at what people produce using images they find on the internet and asks if they're using them properly. Now, our presentations won't be shared. They're going to be in-house, and so we're not really that concerned about running afoul from the law. But I want to show you some options where you can learn more about using images that you do have access to. Allow that to give you some ideas about what you might do in your own presentation. And then if you do need to use copyrighted images, we'll talk a little bit about what you can do in that case as well. So instead of going straight to Google Images, what I'm going to suggest is that we use a different search. Here, we're going to go to Creative Commons Search, and the URL is right here at the top, https://search.creativecommons.org. This is for sources, and doesn't have to be just images. They can be videos, they can be sound files, but these are all things that have a Creative Commons license, which means that they can be used by you without infringing on someone's rights. And there's additional licenses, including here at the bottom. You can choose things that you want to use for commercial purposes. If you're looking to make t-shirts to sell them for a profit, this is an option. We're going to focus on sources that we can use, or images we can find, that you can modify or adapt. If you can change them and they're Creative Commons, you can pretty much do anything you want. They can most certainly be in your Pecha. So, if we were to simply do a search for one of the possible topics that people have talked about, let's just type in a keyword here by doing a search. We get our images back. Looks like with that term, we have over 1,000 possible images, and we'll see the very recognizable Bratz figurines. For some reason, we have someone listing this poor child as being a brat, but we'll have many other Bratz dolls that a student could possibly use in their presentation. So this is simply one option that might give you images that you might not otherwise have. In the left-hand bar, which you can't see as well here in our presentation, there are ways to limit this down to things held in certain museums, other sorts of collections, but I think what we're looking for is a simple search to find other images that, well, you might not have found using Google search. Now, I also want to note, Google Images has a way to limit things to Creative Commons sources as well. And so I'm going to switch back over here to Google Images, and what I want to call attention to is before we jump into the search bar here, I want you to look down here to the lower right-hand corner to the settings. Probably have always looked past this and never really noticed it. If we click here, we can choose Advanced Search, and in the Advanced Search, we have options. And among those are some keywords and things, but what I want to do is use this final term right here. I think the information we need might be a little off screen. There we are. Usage rights, right here. Not filtered by license. This means Google will show you everything, including licensed images of Mickey Mouse. Here, we can limit it to free to use or share, free to use or share even commercially, free to use or share or modify, or free to use, share, or modify even commercially. This means they really don't care what happens with your images. So if we click on this, and scroll up a little bit and do our search again for Bratz. All the images that come up now, these are ones that we can do anything that we want. And as a result, we know that we can use them freely, that we won't infringe on anybody's rights, and whether that matters for your Pecha now, you might make a product in the future where you would like to share this online, and you don't want to run afoul of the law. So the last thing I want to know is, let's say you're doing a search here, and the images that you want aren't coming up. You're not finding anything that would be not filtered by license. And let's say, well, the WWE and their wrestling is something that is copyrighted. We're not going to find a lot of free information about them and free images. So by doing this search, if you find that you can't get these images for free, all we would ask is that choose the images you want for your presentation and use the URL that the image includes. List that in the lower right-hand corner of your slide as part of your presentation, just giving credit where credit is due. Where did you find that image? And by doing so, everyone will know that you're not trying to infringe on their rights, and it seems a fair way to let people know that you're using images that you might not have had a legal right to, but you're not trying to do anything that's against the law either. These are just a few steps in finding images for your own presentation. As you go looking for your own, reach out to me directly and let me know where you're having trouble. There's always a solution if we work on it together.